Hi, everyone. Welcome to our channel. I'm How Abel,
I'm from Mata Warfield.
and this is Adopted Gals podcast.
So today's topic is going to be a little heavy. Today's topic is going to be on abandonment issues. Abandonment issues is what a lot of adoptees experience after being given up by their birth parents. And even though our adoptive parents have given us the love and care that we needed, we still have those like fears of being given up. And especially for me, when I came to the States, it was hard for me to connect with my family. And I mean, and that's also based on it's a new family, new world, new everything. So it was hard to learn how to like love them and to fully trust them in them saying that they were never really going to abandon me or give me up, which they did, by the way. So I will talk about that later. But anyways, how I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you and add more to the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great topic because I think abandonment is an issue that a lot of adoptees experience. Now, there's various different ways that people respond to being abandoned, like different ways that they cope.
Mm.
For me, I ended up coping with being abandoned by kind of like pushing people away, always creating a boundary and distancing people from me. So I never really got close to people, whether that be like
Kind of like sabotaging yourself.
so there was definitely a lot of that happening, and just subconsciously creating space between me and other people where there was no opportunity for me to get close to them and really get to know them and
Mhm.
learn unconditional love with people. So that's something I always had a hard time with.
Mhm.
And the truth is, the reality is that knowing that your parents, your biological parents, gave you up is not an easy feeling. It's very hard for adoptees to come to terms with the fact that their parents just gave them away.
Yeah.
As a parent, your whole goal, your whole mission in life is to birth, to take care of your child, to protect your child, and to care
Mhm.
for them. And then to not be able to do that for your children. I mean, I know it's hard for our birth parents, but it's just very challenging as an adoptee to know that.
And like I always say, in a perfect world, it would be nice for children to stay with their birth parents that have all the resources and tools that they need to take care of the kids, because at the end of the day that would be much better, but we don't live in that world, and so parents sometimes have to make the tough decision in giving up their children, and that tough decision can bring up lack of self-esteem. Like for me, I just felt like I wasn't good enough, and I felt like they just gave me up easily like that. How could they just give me up like that? And being in an orphanage before I came to the States, my mom used to come visit me and I just used to beg her, like, take me home. I want to go home. So, and she clearly never did. So I had that feeling in the back of my head that I wasn't good enough and that I was just somebody that can be easily given up like that. And now in my relationship, I do suffer with abandonment issues where my husband to this day still has to reassure me, I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to leave you. And I always make sure, try to make sure I'm doing everything right so that I'm not giving up. How I
Mhm.
don't know about you if you actually experienced something like that where you felt like you had to be good so then that
Oh,
way you
yeah.
don't have to be given up.
Oh
You
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I was quote unquote troubled teen, right? So I was getting a lot of trouble as a teenager. I was hanging out with the wrong crowd of people when I was younger. I've always been a smart girl. I've always done pretty good in school, so that wasn't the biggest problem.
know,
But definitely was hanging around the wrong crowd. I was dabbling in recreational drugs like smoking weed, drinking, partying, that kind of stuff when I was younger. I mean, on the one end, sometimes that's what young teenagers do is they explore, they try different things, they try drinking, things that they're not supposed to be doing.
mhm.
But I think for me, whenever I did explore in those type of things, yeah, I feel in a way, my parents, it kind of became too much for my adoptive parents, right?
Mhm.
Now it's not like I was out here doing coke when I was in high school or doing meth or anything like that, but
So let me ask you, when they sent you to boarding school, did you feel like they were abandoning you?
in a certain to a certain degree, yes,
Okay.
because I felt like I would say yes and no because
Mhm.
I know my parents have always been there for me and supported
Mhm.
me. Like would always call me and visit me, and they were very active in my life. It wasn't like they just placed me in boarding school and forgot about me and didn't really reach out to me or only saw me once a year. But
Mhm.
at the same time, it was almost like we can't handle you. You're too much. So we have to give you to somebody else to take care of you, because that's
Like,
essentially what it is. Like, it's too overwhelming. We have to focus on our own lives, and you're getting in the way of that. And so we
yeah,
have to
it's
place you in the
hurtful.
hands of other people. So it was very painful. And I mean, mind you, the boarding schools I went to, I didn't go to like the fun boarding schools like Zoe 101. No, that was not, that's what I was expecting and wanting, but that was not the type of boarding school I went to. I went to like boot camp, pretty
Hmm.
much like jail for high schoolers.
Yeah.
And there was not a lot of love shown to me during my time in boarding schools. There was a lot of like harassment, there was a lot
Mhm.
of like physical restraint,
Yeah.
and it got really, really rough. And that, I think, increased my level of trust in
Mm.
people and my ability to really feel love from like my not superiors, but from my parents. I mean, and like
Um,
people who are older than me, people who are supposed to be looking out for me. It really created that lack of trust and love from them.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can completely understand. I can see why that would make you even a little more, shaky and feeling like you're not really stable and trusting people and getting close to people like that. When I came to the States, I don't know about you, it took me a while to love my family. And my parents, I think, had this idea that they were just gonna bring me to the States and give me this new life and expect me to just love them like that. And I remember just like feeling like I don't know who these people are and I don't trust them and I've been abandoned and I'm just going to continue to hang on to my birth family and I don't want to love anyone else. I just want to love my birth family. So part of abandonment issues, that's what that can come up and happen where it's hard for you to adopt to love a new family because you're
Mhm.
just like so attached to your old family. And
Mhm.
honestly, it took me a very long time. I honestly, I don't think I truly loved my family until I was like high school, like
Mhm.
18. And I
Me
came here
too,
when
girl. Me
yeah, and
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I came here at when I was 9 years old, and I
Mhm.
realized how much I loved them after I left the home and I became an adult. And I'm like, wow, I actually really love my family and I need them in my life like that. But fortunate for me, like how I don't know if I said this already, my adoptive family and I no longer have a relationship anymore. So they abandoned me as well.
That must have been very like
Yeah,
painful experience.
it has been, and it's like I've been abandoned twice in my life, and
Mhm.
it's been such a painfully emotionally wrecking journey, and I've had
Mhm.
to literally pull myself up by myself and dig in and try to heal, and I'm still trying to heal from it, and I'm just like asking God at times, and I'm like, why is this happening to me? Why did I have two families that abandoned me? Like, what is going on? And you would think my family left me because I was just this god awful child. I wasn't. All I was asking for was for them to take accountability and responsibility for some of the things that happened when I was younger, and that was it. But they're not willing to because, in their mind, it's we gave you a new life, we adopted you, you should be just grateful. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I am grateful. I'm very much grateful, but I still feel like it's okay for me to talk about the things that I have been through. And
Right.
yeah, because of that, it's just there's a lot of emotional anger, words flying back and forth. And it's just had to be like, okay, we need to separate from each other. And unfortunately, it happened at the worst time where I was getting married and they just did not show up at my wedding at all. They just completely just abandoned me. My
Yeah,
best friend,
girl.
she was there for me. She was, oh my gosh,
Ooh.
how it was such a saving grace. Like she's my sister at this point. Like her and I just she was there and she listened to me. She carried me on. She saw my tears. She sat there, listened, and consoled me. And during that time when this was happening, oh my gosh, my husband was on deployment during this time. So she was my best friend. She was my best friend who just came through. So for that, I will forever be grateful to you for that, Hala. You have no idea. No
Y'all,
idea.
I'm literally, you're about to, like, I'm about to start crying because that
Yes.
was, as much as you were going through that very emotional time with your family and you guys not being able to understand each other, I was hurt by the situation because I know your family personally. I was very shocked with everything that was going on. But I had to show up for you as a friend and as a sister because I understand what you were going through.
Yeah.
and just going to your wedding and literally seeing that none of your family member came, that made me so sad because
Yeah.
it just made me so sad. And honestly, when I was speaking, when I was making a toast to you and Derek for your marriage, and I used to remember I literally could not, like, words could not come out of my mouth. I was just pouring tears and tears and crying for what, not only like what the challenges you've gone through, but how hard you work on yourself to come out
Yeah.
of it as a better person, as a better individual, and to know
Yeah.
that there's so much pain that's happened, especially when it comes to abandonment, because I
Yeah.
know that you love so deeply
I
and
do.
you want other people to love you so deeply. And the fact that you, out of all people, you would think, oh, people would stick around because she's such a
Yeah.
caring person. But then it's like, that's not the case. And one group of people that are really supposed to be there on that day for you, for your wedding, and
Yeah.
really just like put aside all drama, put aside
Yeah.
everything. They just could not show up for you on that one day. And it's sad to me because, like, you were willing to put aside all of the drama
I do.
for
And
them, for them. I
I
mean, for them.
I always did whenever it came to putting aside drama, because being an adoptee and growing up in a family that doesn't look like you, there's going to be ups and downs and dramas. But I was always
Yeah,
able to
of
put
course. It's
aside
family
drama.
drama.
Yeah, I was always able to put it aside and show up when it was needed. And to me, it felt like this was a time for them to really stick it to me. And
Yeah.
my family did a lot of demonizing of me when I was growing up and acting like I was basically the devil in the family. Like I was scapegoated. Yes, I was a scapegoated. And even though as hurtful and painful as it was to happen, it had to happen so I could be free in a way where I could start finding myself and not feel like a bad person because there's somebody who is demonizing me deeply and trying to portray me out to be into somebody that I am not. And after that, I'm not gonna lie, I've been happier. I have been happier. I'm creating my own family now.
Yeah.
And I think going to therapy and doing the work, if you can, because you've done the work and things happen, it's like you can
Mhm.
assure yourself that you can get through it because you've been through way worse.
Way worse. Yeah.
And so at being abandoned twice as an adoptee has been just so jarring. And I'm like, please, Lord, don't let this happen to me again because I'm
Yeah.
tired. I'm
Yeah.
tired. But I hope some of you at home who adoptees who no longer have relationships with their adopted families can understand where I'm coming from. And please go ahead. Don't be afraid to share your story. That's how we learn and that's how we heal on this channel.
And you know what? I'll tell you what, most of the people that I know that have been adopted, they don't even have a relationship with their adoptive family
Yeah,
as
I've
a
heard
kid.
you say that before. Yeah.
And that's why sometimes when I see people post on our videos and
Mhm.
with a lot of lack of understanding,
Yeah.
I don't really, it doesn't phase me, right?
Yeah.
When they say, oh, just be grateful, like you
Yeah.
guys were adopted and went to, but it doesn't really phase me because I know for every one ignorant person who probably doesn't know anybody that's adopted, who isn't
Yeah.
adopted, that creates a post, I know that there's 10 people for that one person that are adopted
Hmm.
that had so much trauma with their relationship with their adoptive family because
Hmm.
there wasn't any space like this that
Yeah.
showed how to build and bond relationships as adults and as young people with your adoptive family. There
Yeah.
wasn't this group and this type of community, and so they didn't know how to navigate those type of relationships. You know what I'm saying? Because once you get adopted, you have to actively seek out the type of support that you need
Hmm.
to have a healthy relationship with your child and your
Hmm.
adoptive parents, right? It's not just out, the information is not just out there. So for everybody
Yeah.
to go in the post and say, oh, well, just be grateful, whatever, 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 cool. Like it's valid for you to have your own perspective, but we're
Hmm.
helping other women
Hmm.
and men who no longer have relationships with their adoptive family because of situations like this, right? Where there's a bunch of entitlement, lack of understanding, and wanting
Hmm.
to understand, and a lot of ignorance, right?
Yeah.
There's even groups on Facebook of
Yeah.
adoptees that says adoptees who are no longer, who have lost ties or
No longer have a relationship. I don't, is
yeah,
that,
no longer have a relationship with their adoptive family. So this is a
yeah.
big thing. It's not just because we want to just hear ourselves talk. This is like
Yeah.
a real issue in the adoptive community. I just want people to be a little bit less insensitive to these type of topics that we're having. If you don't understand it, that's great. You don't understand it, just take a back seat, listen, and hear what people have to say and watch. But genuinely, if you are adopted and you have been abandoned by your adoptive family, and of course your birth family, just know that there's still hope for you to find your family, to build that family, to have a sense of belonging. Sometimes it comes to a point where you're not going to get that from your biological family or your adoptive family. And it's very unfortunate. It's sad, but that's where you as an adult, you have to learn how to first heal and create that community for yourself and that family for yourself.
And being, it's called disruption. So the official term of a person who has adopted a kid and they give them up is called disruption. For me, luckily, it happened to me when I'm 28 years old now, so I'm much older. It happens to other adoptees when they were like 5 years old. We know two girls that were like giving up and they were like below the age of 9, and they basically, and a lot of these families, they give them up because they don't fit into the box that they had created for them. And it's not necessarily because these kids are just awful. They're not. One, they are going through traumatic things that happened to them before they were adopted, and they're also trying to adapt in a community that doesn't know, where no one looks like them. So that can be really challenging and rough. And families who adopt, they don't think about that. They're like, it comes after. They just think, we're going to give you this home and everything else, and you should be okay. And then when the kids are not okay, they're like, oh, I just can't do this anymore. I'm just going to have to give you up, and basically like throw them away like trash. And knowing they would never do that to their own birth children. They would never.
Right. Exactly.
There's a huge difference in how adoptive parents treat their adoptive kids versus their own. The things that they say and do to the adoptive children, they do not do that to their own. And it's sickening to me that happens, because it's like, you did this for yourself. It was never about the child. It was about you and your saviorism that you're going through to make yourself look good, to do this and the third. And you not calculate and think about the child and what they were going to do. And so sometimes what's going to happen. And sometimes I'm like, I don't like adoption. I don't believe in adoption because of stuff like that. And of course, there's exceptions to that. If somebody is like in Sierra Leone, if somebody's disabled, they don't necessarily like kids like that. They basically like outcast them. So if there's a family that wants to adopt a disabled kid, then yes. But I feel like the best way to support a child, especially a child like living in a foreign country, is to try and maybe support them there, send them to school, or give them something that is better for them to stay with their families, versus you taking them in for your own selfish needs and then realizing, oh, we can't take care of you anymore, so bye. It's disgusting.
Right.
It's disgusting.
Right. And also, I want to point out that, like, obviously, like Emily was gearing towards or something, but basically, not every single person and parent who's going to be adopting is going to fall under the category of white saviorism or selfishness. Absolutely, we know that that's not always the case. There's people who adopt because they just can't have children. They want to have kids, and they genuinely don't care about the color. And sometimes it's legal aspects, right? Like for me, my adoptive family decided to adopt internationally because the wait time for them to adopt it within their state was like years and years, and they didn't want to wait that long. And then it just came to a series of events that happened where they learned about adopting internationally, and they're like, okay, we'll try it out. So it's not always the case that everyone has white saviorism or they're selfish or anything like that, but we're just saying that once you do adopt, then so what, right? That's where the journey begins. That's where you seek out resources like our channel, where you learn more about what happens after you actually adopt, right? Because at the end of the day, adoption is going to continue to happen. It's not that's just going to stop. It's a big business. And also there's some people who just can't have their own kids, so they're going to adopt regardless, right? But what happens after you adopt, you have to really go out of your way to find the resources, find the support for your child and for yourself as well, because you as a parent mentally sane to be able to have children, because depending on where you adopt your child from and their background, you can literally go insane. Like I have a few people who were adopted, friends who were adopted, and their trauma, their baggage that they came with, they basically drove their adoptive family like crazy, like seriously crazy. So,
Yeah.
so it's really just about what do you do after you actually adopt and being able to find those resources so you don't have to abandon your child. So you don't have to give your child up again for the second round because it's really just a painful experience to know that
Yeah.
you've not only been abandoned by your biological children, biological parents, but
Yeah.
also,
Yeah,
so,
and at the end of the day, like when I was talking about adoption in that area, I was talking about like kids like us from overseas. I'm not talking about
mhm,
adoption here, but still, it can become the same thing. And I feel like if you're gonna adopt, you can't. It has to be solely about that kid, and it's like it has to be very selfless. You can't base it off of how it's gonna make you look and how it's going to
mhm,
make you look better. It's going to make you look like you are just this giving person. It's not about you. And how I really like how your parents really were like that. Your parents
mhm,
were literally just we just want a child, and it had nothing to do with us. And where my parents sometimes, I think it was both for them. For a while, it was about saviorism, and then they realized and they realized, okay, no, it's more about the kid. And of course, they loved me. I know my parents loved me, but it was both. And there's just certain things that they couldn't handle. And I feel like I wasn't one of those kids that was driving my family insane like that for me to be discarded like that. I wasn't that child.
mhm.
That was just a
Yeah.
kid going through traumatic things and feeling like I just wasn't seen. I feel like my family just did not see who I was and who I am as a person. They painted this picture of me, and it's just, and I try to get out of that so many different times, and it just wouldn't it wouldn't it
Mhm.
wouldn't take. It wouldn't take.
And I also want to point out, just so people don't think we're haters, we're racist, we're against white people. We're
No,
not.
that's not a
We're
hate.
not at
That,
all.
to be
The only reason that we're using the terminology of white saviorism is it exists, and
honest.
two, also we know people personally who
Mhm.
adopted because of those reasons, and they
Mhm.
have even admitted that.
Yeah.
Hence, Fatmata's adoptive
Family, yeah.
parents, her adoptive mother wrote a whole article
Mhm.
about this and how she used to did adopt part of her adoption. She did have like the white saviorism complex,
Yeah.
and she didn't have she. I don't know how aware she was when she did adopt, but eventually got to a point where she became aware of it, and she, I think, was put herself in a very vulnerable position to even write that article that hey,
Mhm.
like I was in the missionary community and culture, and I definitely was. I did have white savior complex. So we're not just making stuff out of our head and out of our butts. Like this is legit. So just wanted to
Yeah.
put that out there.
Yeah, no, truly. And I really hope when people watch this channel is meant for us to heal. So we're gonna rant sometimes. We're gonna rant. We're gonna talk about the feelings that we feel and we have.
Hmm.
And I don't ever want to come off as insulting to anyone. These are
Hmm.
just the feelings that we have, and how and I balance each other out very well when it comes to this journey. And like I said, me being abandoned again is very raw and real to me. And I really wish my mother, even though she admitted in the white saviorism, there was just other things that she was also missing in understanding me as a Black woman, and where she just, I don't know, didn't seem to, I don't know, get it together. But
Yeah.
like again, I'm happy that she was able to actually look at her faults, because at the end of the day, that's how you learn and grow. You look at your faults and be like, that was not the best thing. That was not the best thing. And I'm sorry for that. And what she did. And my mother and I talk about my family like this, and I'm ranting. There was love. There was a lot of love between us. And it's just unfortunate that we can continue that love together. Yeah. So that's it for today's episode. It's kind of heated, and if I got a little heated, actually I'm not apologizing. This is our healing journey. So I hope you guys like this, and I hope adoptees who have been through what I've been through, I really hope you felt heard and you felt seen. Thank you for watching, being here with us, and watching again. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and just be part of our journey. All
Click
right.
that button.
So till next time, you have a
All
good
right,
rest of your
you guys. Bye.